Get pumped up. College football is officially back. Games starting this weekend. Some schools are playing overseas. Nebraska, Northwestern, they're in Dublin, Ireland now. Here's a quick of the AP top 25 teams. And the top 8 teams we're going to highlight here: Alabama, of course, Heisman winner, SoCal native Bryce Young. And then number 2, you got Heisman favorite C.J. Stroud, another local product. And rounding out the rest of the teams are Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Utah, and Michigan. And as for our SoCal teams, USC and UCLA are looking to get back on track. They haven't been pretty good of late. Joining me now to talk about it is my girl, Nikki K. Yeah, you know, I'm sorry about UCLA. What's up with your boys? Are they going to be good this year?
Listen, you know what, Tim? I can hear the 8 claps reverberating from the Rose Bowl already. It feels good to be back. And when I look at UCLA and think of the team this year, I think of the word experience. We're now entering year 5 of the Chip Kelly era, and he's coming into 2022 with a roster full of guys who have been with him since the beginning. When you look at redshirt seasons and the added year from COVID, nearly half of his players are entering their 4th year as Bruins. Now, I was out at practice this week, and you could feel that sense of urgency and familiarity. The type of expectations come from knowing your role and responsibility. And that experience comes at the most important position. You have quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who decided to return for his 5th year, and you've got his running mate, running back Zach Charbonnet, who finished 2nd in the conference last season with over 1,100 rushing yards. The Bruins offense led the pack last year in average points per game and were 2nd in yards. And on the other side of the ball, the Bruins have got some work to do. They've got a new defensive coordinator, Bill McGovern, and he's basically got to fix the Bruins' pass defense, which was the worst in the conference last season. So I think the secondary is more veteran. The front 7 have been reinforced by some transfers, and I got to speak with 6-year defensive back Mo Osling III, and he's saying, hey, everybody, don't you forget about us, especially all you Trojan fans.
You see what happened last year. We reloaded, so, we coming back. We back at the Rose Bowl, so, you can expect big things this year. People just forgetting about us, we still here, we still got a lot of players coming back. We still got a lot of transfers coming in.
Talk about a favorable schedule. UCLA has 8, yes, 8 home games for the first time since 1939, including 3 non-conference opponents that will be a good opportunity, let's just say, for the Bruins to get some rhythm. But things are going to get really interesting in October. That's where I'm checking out the schedule. On the 7th, UCLA welcomes in number 7 Utah. 2 weeks later, they travel to take on number 11 Oregon. And of course, we all have that crosstown showdown circled on the calendar. November 19th, I'm picking UCLA to ultimately finish 2nd in the Pac-12 conference this season.
And Nikki, they better finish 2nd in the conference, considering they have 8 home games in a college football schedule. That's crazy. As for USC, they're ranked 15th in the AP Pro poll. Kristen Lago gives us a look ahead at the Trojan season as they prepare to start their year against Rice.
What's up, everyone? I'm Kristen Lago reporting from Dallas, Texas, but of course here to bring you a little USC football preview. Now, I know you're probably thinking, Kristen, you're biased, you went to USC, and you're right, I am biased, but I'm about to put that bias aside to bring you the facts, and that's that this USC team is going to be the real deal. First-year head coach Lincoln Riley came in and completely flipped the script on campus, instilling a new sense of accountability that the 4-8 Trojans desperately lacked last year. Not to mention, he's loaded with talent. It starts with the stud transfer from Oklahoma and quarterback Caleb Williams. It moves into a stacked receiving room headlined by the Blitnikoff Award winner Jordan Addison, and then it trickles down to defense with several high-impact returners, including defensive lineman Tuli Tuipulotu. However, that's my big question for the Trojans this year, their defense. Can defensive coordinator Alex Grinch breathe new life into this unit? Overall, though, I'm thinking the 4-8 Trojans of last year are going to flip that script, at least an 8-4 season under Lincoln Riley, and that's good news for the Trojans and good news for me. Bye, Don.
Now to the NFL. Who thought it was a good idea to have the Rams and Bengals have joint practices after LA beat them down in Super Bowl 56? So, of course, a brawl erupted between the two, a big old melee on Thursday. They end the preseason against each other this weekend. The NFL doesn't impose any disciplinary actions for what happens at teams' practices. As the Super Bowl champions begin defending their title in less than 2 weeks, their opening night against the Bills, they're also focusing on raising money for the next generation of Angelinos, including the little cute Watch Rams. With a quick glance, you might think you're looking at Rams superstar tackle Aaron Donald. But this little big guy is 12-year-old Samuel Richard.
That's better new seat football.
He hits hard as a linebacker and puts fear into defenders as a running back of the Watch Rams youth football team. For him, the game is his escape.
It's basically my therapy, something that helps me just focus about one thing and make sure that I'm doing things that I need to do.
The team was created 9 years ago by LAPD officers, many of which are coaches, like Lester Bodyford with the 77th Division.
Everybody listen, we have a game Saturday.
He says it's important these young players know there are officers who are there to support them in the trenches.
They get an opportunity to see that we are human, that we have kids, that we were once kids just like them, growing up in areas just like this. It's a football program, but none of this is about football.
The Los Angeles Rams began a partnership with the youth team in 2019, providing funding and more. Every single player on the Rams roster was on hand as the team held its annual charity brunch this week, where fans got to sit with players as the event featured a big-time auction.
$30,000, now $31,000.
The money going to its foundation, which supports groups like the Watch Rams. Guys like safety Nick Scott understand how important it is to bring up the next generation.
Just because we were in those kids' positions when we were their age, and we needed a little push ourselves. Nobody here has gotten here by themselves.
Samuel appreciates the love from both the big Rams and the officers who've become like big brothers.
It's good that somebody's giving back to me because like some people on Watch really don't have a lot, so it's nice for them to give back to us.
Which means he gets to focus on his goal of making it to the NFL, maybe one day being an LA Ram. But first it starts here in his Watch community.
October is here, and you know what that means. Yep, it is time for the MLB playoffs, and no strangers to the postseason. The Dodgers finishing with the best record in Major League Baseball. That's 111 wins and 51 losses, and they are the favorites to win it all again. They also earned a first-round bye and will face the winner between the San Diego Padres and the New York Mets. Joining me now, our very own John Hartung of Sportsnet LA to give us more insight on the boys in blue. John, thanks so much for joining us. I mean, you're ready,
It's
right?
great to be here. Yes, thanks for having me in your studio. It is fun to be here. Tuesday is going to be special.
Oh, yeah, getting ready in that postseason form already. So how do you like the Dodgers when you think about them stacking up, whether it's against the Padres or the Mets?
Well, during the regular season, the Dodgers did lose 4 out of the 7 games to the New York Mets. They beat the Padres 14 out of 19, so the advantage there would say, hey, you're going against the Padres. That would be your best matchup for this division series. They have great familiarity with the Padres and all of their pitchers. Both of these teams have elite starting pitching. They're both great at the back end of the bullpen. Both teams struggle at times offensively. I would kind of like to see an LA versus New York matchup and face Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom. We didn't get to see Jacob deGrom much earlier this season, dealing with injury problems. But to have an all-Southern California NLDS with the Padres, that would be electric. Dodger Stadium, Petco Park, those places would be rocking. I think that would be a lot of fun for baseball fans in Southern California.
I like what you said earlier, a little bit of spice in that rivalry, right? Yes, we need it, we love it, and it would be great for Southern California. Now, when we look at what the boys in blue are doing right now, right? They're sitting at home and they're watching these first games play out. Does it benefit the team or does it hurt to kind of sit out and have this time away from the game?
Well, in 2017, they had 4 days off before the National League Division Series, and they quickly swept right through the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NLDS. This is only one more day. I think they've figured out a way to plan things out. They're having a sim game today, a sim game a couple of times this weekend as well. So I think they're going to be fine in terms terms of preparation, but it is the whole rest versus rust thing. I think they actually needed to press the reset button. I think this time off is actually good for them.
It was a long season. Now, in all honesty, looking at the team, any concerns with the Dodgers right now?
It always comes down to health, and the Dodgers are dealing with a few guys who have some minor injuries right now. Chris Taylor dealing with a bit of a neck issue, so hopefully he will be able to go in the division series. Yeah, Blake Treinen's a big question mark. He hasn't pitched much this year because of injury. You've got guys like Brusdar Graterol and others who have been dealing with injuries for a good portion of the season, but they are mostly getting healthy at the right time, so there is good news on that front. It always comes down to injuries because we remember what happened last year. You lose Clayton Kershaw the final weekend of the season, Max Muncy the final day of the season. Both of those injuries impacted their playoff run.
That's where you say rest is greater than rest, right? All right. Lastly, before we go, we wanted to congratulate Dodgers Spanish broadcaster Jaime Jarrín on an incredible career. Do you have any thoughts or messages you want to say to him?
He's just the kindest, sweetest man. He is so classy. I love every minute I've had a chance to sit down and talk with him before games. To me, the greatest story of all is this is a guy who came from Ecuador when he was 19 years old. He had never seen a baseball game. He knew nothing about the game. And then 4 years later, he's the Spanish voice of the Dodgers, one of the Spanish voices of the Dodgers, and winds up having a 64-year career. Congratulations on your retirement, Jaime. Just the classiest of individuals, and we're going to miss him in the booth.
Legends all around, the boys in blue. Let's hope we're making another one this season.
We need
Thanks so much,
wins.
John. 11 wins. You heard it. The Angels agreed to keep Phil Nevin as the team's manager for another season. Nevin and the team agreed to a one-year contract after serving as the club's interim manager this season. And the Fullerton native originally returned to Southern California to be part of the Halos in January after 4 seasons with the New York Yankees. Taking it to the pitch, both of our local professional soccer teams secured a spot in the MLS playoffs. So a lot of postseason action happening here in LA this month. After this weekend's fixtures, the LA Galaxy can either finish as high as the 3rd seed or as low as the 7th seed in the West. And Galaxy manager Greg Vanney is hoping to continue this recent run of good games.
Now we really have to be consistent. We have to really decrease our mistakes. We have to play with intelligence, so you learn all of the things that you learn about your group. And now it's actually, as I said to the guys today, like tournament play is very different than league play. And only one Supporter Shield winner in the last 10 years has won a championship. So it doesn't really matter what you do in the regular season. It's really, can you now adapt to what tournament play is going to look like?
The Galaxy back in the postseason for the first time since 2019. And now from football to football, the LA Chargers are on the road this week against the Cleveland Browns. The Bolts came out on top against the Houston Texans, 34-24. Running back Austin Eckler was able to take over the game, scoring 3 touchdowns. But he says it's been a hard start to the season.
It's one of the things that I love most about this game is that it's always challenging, right? And it's challenging to the maximum level of competition. That's what keeps me coming back. That's why I love it so much, because it's such a journey to make sure that you're staying, on the top of your game, and it's really hard to hold on to that. And so every single year, like in my comments, and everyone's like, "Hey, man, like you scored 20 touchdowns. Like, what's going on? Like, you just finally got in the end." It's like, look, this is a whole new year. We have to come out. We have to mess with what we got this year.
The Bolts will be kicking off Sunday at 10 a.m. And as for the defending Super Bowl champs, the LA Rams are looking to get back on the winning track. The team fell to divisional rival, the San Francisco 49ers, losing on Monday Night Football 24-9. Now the Rams will be back at SoFi Stadium this week facing the Dallas Cowboys, who are on a winning streak right now. Wideout Cooper Kupp is looking to bounce back with a win.
Our goal is to go out and find a way to win, and we got the right people in this building that know that when it's time to come into work, we got the guys that are going to go and compete and try to win games. And so, I think when you have the guys that want to do that, when you have guys that want to win, there's no need to try to inspire, motivate anyone. It's just about coming in and doing your job to the best of your ability, and knowing we're going to have a great time going out on Sunday and competing for a W.
Kickoff is at 1:25 this Sunday at SoFi Stadium. And before we go, here's a few games to check out this weekend. We'll be back in just a few.
Well, it is week 8 of the NFL football season, and your defending Super Bowl champions, the LA Rams, are back and ready to go after their bye week. They'll be taking the field at SoFi Stadium on Sunday, and it's a big one. The Rams take on their divisional rival, the San Francisco 49ers, hoping to avenge a Week 4 24-9 loss up in Santa Clara and get the better of a team that has won the last 7 straight regular season matchups. It's the curse of the 49ers, I'm telling you. This week, though, San Francisco adds another playmaker to the mix. The Rams facing newly acquired running back Christian McCaffrey for the 2nd straight game. Rams wideout Allen Robinson says the team is more than ready after their week off.
I don't think we have a very good mindset. I think we have an energetic group coming off of the bye. I think which is at this point in the season, that's what you want. Again, guys were excited to be back. Guys were excited to be around each other again, back at practice and things like that. And again, anytime that you put yourself in this position where you're playing meaningful football going into November and December, that's the position that you want to be in.
Robinson is coming off of a great game where he caught 5 passes for 63 yards and a touchdown. If the Rams look to open the field, they'll need to pick up their running game, though. Right now, Darrell Henderson is their leading back with 181 yards rushing so far this season, and that's in total. The team is looking to trade running back Cam Akers. And joining us now to give a little more insight into trade rumors surrounding the LA Rams is LA Daily News sports writer Gilbert Manzano. Gilbert, thanks for joining us in studio today.
Thank you for having me, Kristen. As you know, the Rams like to stay busy during this time of year. They're known for trades. Sean McVay said, you never know with this team, so I'm expecting something to happen. We'll see.
You mentioned the big word there, the trades. That's what everybody's mind is on, and the big player that everyone's talking about right now, of course, running back Cam Akers. I guess what's the latest regarding his situation right now?
Yeah, it's been very quiet with the Cam Akers situation, and I'm not too surprised about it because when you make it obvious that you want to trade a player, you have no leverage. So teams are waiting to see what happens. You cut the player and you get them on waivers or you sign them as a free agent. So I think once the deadline is over, come Tuesday, November 1st, maybe the Rams say, hey, you want to come back? Or, hey, we're going to cut you, release you, clean your hands, and call it a day. So I think that's why the phone's not ringing for Cam Akers. And also, it does not help that Cam Akers is struggling right now. He's coming off the torn Achilles injury. So we'll see if it happens. But we just saw the Jets make a trade for a running back in James Robinson, and that got him a six-round draft pick. So we'll see.
Aside from just Cam Akers, I know, of course, the Rams dealing with a lot of injuries. There could be opportunities for them to bolster other position groups. Are you hearing any other names that the Rams could maybe be looking at to bring in, or other position groups they might want to help?
Yeah, it was tough to tell because they went all in on Christian McCaffrey, the running back for the 49ers, the new running back for the 49ers, who they will face on Sunday. They were all in on Christian McCaffrey, and it just didn't work out. They didn't have enough draft picks or enough salary cap to make it work. So once they swung and missed McCaffrey, it's like, okay, where do you go? And I think they're trying to go for Brian Burns, also from the Panthers, edge rusher. They need help there. When they lost Von Miller, they didn't have enough production to help out Leonard Floyd. And even Leonard Floyd has had kind of a quiet year, was 0 sacks. And even Aaron Donald's getting frustrated. Aaron Donald's saying, hey, guys, I need help here on the defensive line. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams go after another edge rusher to help out Aaron Donald. But as you know, Kristen, they also need offensive line help. They got to protect Stafford. But the bad problem is quality left tackle, the right tackles don't grow on trees, so they're tough to get. And it doesn't help that the NFL is so close right now. So many teams are in the race that they're not ready to trade away their great players because they're all in the race to the end.
Yeah, it seems like great offensive linemen at a premium these days. But I'm going to throw you one name that I think a lot of Rams fans are looking at. I don't know if they're going to get him back. OBJ, what is the latest with him?
Yeah, this is not a trade, but he is a quality free agent out there, probably the best free agent available for the Rams to get, and they're familiar with him. The latest is they're not giving him the money. For Odell Beckham, it's like, show me the money, pay me what I'm worth. And he went on Twitter saying the Rams have offered me the lowest of lows offer. So I think it's very quiet on that front, and he has a lot of interest from like the Chiefs, the Ravens. I'm even hearing the Giants. So all these teams are coming in and trying to get him. Maybe the Packers jump in. The Buccaneers are always a team that wants a wide receiver. How about the Cowboys? I could keep going on and on, Kristen, for Odell Beckham. But I think guys like Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Stafford, they would love to have Odell Beckham back. And as you know, Kristen, there's already a locker room stall saved for Odell Beckham to come back. But if they don't get Odell Beckham, I think they feel okay with Van Jefferson coming back this week as the 49ers. Van has missed the first 6 games of the year. So I think getting Van back with Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp should be okay. But it's just so much better with OBJ around.
And I know you'll be keeping a close eye. Of course, you said it best. The Rams always looking to wheel and deal with the trades, and then we'll keep an eye on the situation with OBJ as well. Thank you so much for joining us today, Gilbert. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for the time, Chris, and see you on Sunday.
As for the Chargers, they got this week off, and boy, do they need that bye. The Bolts lost cornerback J.C. Jackson for the year and will be without wideout Mike Williams for at least 4 weeks because of an ankle sprain. With the number of injuries the team has had this season, it's given rise to questions on whether or not they'll make a move before the trade deadline next week. It could make sense to add another wide receiver or maybe a backup running back for Austin Eckler. LA could also look to bolster their defensive line, but as everyone, I'm just going to have to wait and see. Now moving on to the pitch, LAFC is just 1 win away from securing a spot in the MLS Championship, seen by many as one of the early favorites to get there. Last weekend, LAFC defeated El Tráfico rival LA Galaxy in a thriller, where at one point in the match, it was a tie game after a screamer from one of the Galaxy strikers. But in the end, it was the black and gold who came out on top. They'll be facing Austin FC on Sunday here at the Bank of California Stadium at noon. And LeBron James announced he'll be hosting a Thursday Night Football alternate stream in the style of his show, The Shop. That'll be on November 17th when the Tennessee Titans take on the Green Bay Packers on Amazon Prime. It'll be called TNF in the Shop and will feature LeBron himself, Maverick Carter, Paul Rivera, and other special guests. And before we go, we wanted to give you a look ahead at a few of the games happening this weekend and into next week. It is a full slate. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
The NFL playoff race is heating up, and right now the Chargers are in as of this moment, and they're looking to lock up their spot in the postseason sooner rather than later. If the Chargers beat the Colts Monday night and things go their way in a couple other matchups, they could clinch this week. The Jets' loss on Thursday night puts them one step closer to making the playoffs for the first time since 2018. Head coach Brandon Staley says his team is starting to come together, especially defensively, and they get Derwin James back, the Pro Bowler.
Now to get him back and be able to integrate him into our defense, and it's just going to make us that much stronger. And then his leadership, what he does for his teammates, how he affects his teammates, that will be big as well. And we're going to need all of his experience down the stretch here.
The Bolts take on the Colts on Monday night in Indianapolis. Kickoff is 5:15 p.m. Philly special legend Nick Foles will be starting for the Colts after they benched Matt Ryan for a second time. As for the Rams, they'll be taking on the Broncos, who have also had a season to forget. Both teams only have 4 wins on the year and looking to end the season on a positive note. The Rams are eliminated officially from the playoff race after Monday's loss to the Packers. Head coach Sean McVay says this season has been very humbling. As for this week, it will be a reunion between linebacker Bobby Wagner and his former teammate, Russell Wilson.
I think it's going to be an upgraded version of practice. I think with practice, it's, everything was pretty much live, and, the checks and going back and forth, all of that was, full speed, but the hitting wasn't. You could never touch them. So, he said I would never catch him, so we'll see.
Rams and Broncos kick off at 1:30 p.m. Christmas Day action at SoFi Stadium. The last time Trevor Bauer pitched was June 28, 2021 at Dodger Stadium. He then was suspended for violating Major League Baseball's domestic violence policy. A year and a half later, Bauer has now been reinstated. He was reinstated by MLB after an independent arbitrator reduced his suspension from 324 games to 194. The Dodgers have less than 2 weeks to cut him or add him to their 40-man roster. Onto the hardwood, the Lakers are preparing for a Christmas Day matchup with the Mavs. It's LeBron James versus Luka Doncic. And right now, to talk about all of that is my boy, Kelvin Washington. We're usually in reverse spots, but today we're here.
I like this.
We're talking about the purple and gold. And, you know, usually when we talk about Christmas basketball, the Lakers are home. And it's one of my favorite things to cover. Actually, it's a dream come true to cover Christmas games at the Staples Center, Crypto.com Arena, whatever you want to call it. But because the Lakers have not been top of their game, there's no Christmas home game. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's to be expected, as you mentioned. The Lakers have been on a downward trend now for some years, even though it's kind of weird because in the middle of this downward trend, really, let's be honest, a decade, they snuck in a championship. Yeah. So it's kind of like,
People really forget about that.
Right, and that's what matters ultimately for the Lakers, which will be part of kind of this conversation we have. So, but as long as LeBron, you know, his resident biggest fan, as long as I get a little LeBron on Christmas Day, I'm all right.
That's what the NBA's thinking too. And not only you get LeBron versus Luka on Christmas Day. Do you think this matchup is kind of like the torch passing?
Yes.
This is the second time in 3 years they've faced each other on Christmas.
Well, anybody who really, really watches Luka Doncic play basketball. Now you, Tim Parker, TP, you know me, how I feel about LeBron. Luka Doncic is the first person in 20 years of LeBron basketball that I ever said, oh, that's the next LeBron. I've never said. They keep throwing everybody else at me. You know, all these people, it's going to be this person, it's going to be this. No, he's the first person. Very similar in style. They can do it all, lead the team, the way they control the tempo of the game. Their hands are involved in everything. So you get a little Luka, a lot of Luka, actually. When you watch LeBron, you see a lot of Luka. And so I think it's kind of a here's the next you matchup.
That's what the NBA...
Without the athleticism.
Well, yeah, absolutely. He ain't got no ups.
No ups.
He had one dunk in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Anthony Davis, he does have up, but he's not up right now. He's been out once again indefinitely. How can the Lakers survive, not only on Christmas without Anthony Davis, you would love to have him for that marquee matchup. How can they survive against Luka and the Mavs, but moving forward?
Well, honestly, TP, you have to move forward mentally, and you have to play every game, maybe for the rest of this year, maybe for the rest of the individual's Lakers tenure, meaning whatever player is, that you're not going to have AD. You have to go into every game, even if he's sitting right next to you, literally in his outfit, in his jersey, ready to play. You have to say, I have to operate as if he's not there. And if he is here, then it's only an added bonus. Because let's just call it what it is. His whole career, he's been injury prone. He's had a bunch of injuries. I love his game. I think he's one of the top, really 3-4 most talented players. He's just not out there. And so you can't keep relying on him if you're one of the players. You have to say, we got to do our thing as if he's not here. If he is, then great. That's an additional bonus.
Christmas time is a good time to evaluate where you are as a basketball team.
Yep, that's usually, when you kind of get started.
Are the Lakers a playoff team in 2023?
With AD? Yes.
No, that's a lot of...
Without AD? No. I will say this, though. Even without AD, the last couple games they've struggled, but there have been some games without him where they looked good because you got guys like Thomas Bryant who are more than capable of coming in and maybe giving you half of Anthony Davis's production, and then you get the other half from other guys. Maybe Russell Westbrook does more. Maybe you get more from LeBron. But without AD, I think it's going to be very difficult. It's just you're asking a lot of a soon-to-be 38-year-old player to continue to be your best player night in, night out. That's a lot on LeBron.
Really quickly, how many games, a percentage of games, does Anthony Davis have to play left for them to get into the playoffs?
I mean, if he can it's sad, but if he can just give you 50, if Anthony Davis can give you half the game, if he can give you half, even though he's out indefinitely, but if all of a sudden he comes back, say a month or so, and he can give you most of the games they got a shot, I think you got to get a lot from Russell Westbrook. Don't forget, Rob Pelinka may make a trade, make a move here or there.
Let's see what Rob Pelinka does. But we'll all be watching on Christmas Day. Kelvin Washington.
That's right.
Thank you, brother.
Showtime.
A program here in Compton is teaching kids to play cricket. I'm Jo Kwan, but it's also teaching them about character. You'll learn all about the Compton Sharks.